Cedarwood Luxury Radio, Nigeria's first real estate radio. Cedarwood Luxury Radio, Nigeria's first real estate radio.
Hello everyone, my name is David, Programs and Broadcast Coordinator for Cedarwood Luxury Online Radio. Would you love to feature on any of the Cedarwood Luxury Online Radio program? Do well to reach out to us via the number right there on the screen, irrespective of who you are, what you are, where you are, and what you do. The Cedarwood Luxury Online platform is available and open to every one of you out there. So if you love to feature on any of our Cedarwood Luxury Online Radio programs, do well to reach out to us via the WhatsApp number right there on the screen, and boom, you'll be in the studio to speak with us. Do well to reach out to us now.
Hello everyone, my name is David.
My name is Sandra,
and we bring you good news from P1 Plus, owners of all Cedarwood Luxury Estate. Yes, Elegance Grandeur is still up and selling and is going for 3 million naira.
We have Elegance Havana on the list, going for 40 million naira early bird price.
Yes, Elegance Plus by Cedarwood is still up and selling, going for the sum of 15 million naira.
We also have City View by Cedarwood, going for 25 million naira.
Not also forgetting that Billionaire City by Cedarwood is still up and selling and is going for the sum of 40 million naira.
Promised Land, like the name implies, Promised Land by Cedarwood, going for 3.5 million naira.
Yes, Cedarwood City Owerri extension is still up and selling and is going for the sum of 7.5 million naira.
And we have a promo price of 6 million naira for Lush City by Cedarwood.
Not also forgetting, yes, the Autograph Maisonette and Apartments by Cedarwood Monastery Road, just right behind ShopRite Shongotedo, Lagos, is offering a 2-bedroom apartment going for 55 million naira, 3-bedroom apartment going for 65 million naira, 4-bedroom apartment going for 85 million naira, service plot also available, 300 square meter, 35 million naira, 600 square meter is going for 70 million naira.
And the land by the beach, the Autograph Beach View by Cedarwood, that one is going for 25 million naira early bird price.
Exercise has many benefits, including improved heart health, stronger bones, and better sleep. Exercise can also help you manage your weight, reduce stress, and live longer.
Well, just so you know, this is not a paid gym house, but this is a gym house specially made for residents of Cedarwood Luxury Apartments and Terraces at Agbata.
This and many more amenities we enjoy right here at Cedarwood Luxury Apartments and Terraces. I've heard so much about the Autograph Maisonette and Apartments, Monastery Road, and I want to do a quick site visitation. Let's go.
you miss the Cedarwood luxury apartments and terraces at Jaya Apata, do not lose hope, because this is an opportunity for you to be a property owner at the Autograph Maisonette and Apartments by Cedarwood here at Monastery Road, Shangotado, just behind Shangotado ShopRite. This estate comes with even more amazing features and facilities like a fully equipped and sophisticated gym house to keep fit, a mini supermarket and grocery store, beautiful green area, mini children's playground, 24-hour security surveillance, ample parking spaces, underground electricity cabling system, a modern and sophisticated water treatment plant, constant water supply, and beautiful ambience and serene environment. Subscribe to the Autograph Maisonette and Apartments today. This estate is in a built-up environment and it's also surrounded by built-up estates.
Are real estate companies out there to solve or contribute to the solving of the high rates of housing deficit in Nigeria? Are you of the opinion that the real estate company, the private sector, the real estate companies generally put together can solve, can contribute 50% at least to the solving of the huge number of housing deficits we have in Nigeria? If you think so, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. And how do you think the real estate companies in Nigeria can contribute to the solving of housing deficits in Nigeria? I actually just thought of this some days ago, and I'm like, okay, when you see the amount of houses, the amount of properties that real estate companies are putting out there, you begin to ask yourself, how many Nigerians can actually afford such, how many Nigerians can actually afford to buy these houses, these properties? And then we're talking about housing deficits. How then do we solve housing deficits? If the houses available up for sale and even for rent is so expensive that an ordinary man, a low-income earner, cannot even afford to get one. So how do we go about solving housing deficits? How do we go about it? All right. All right. Now, this afternoon, this afternoon we're looking into addressing Nigeria's housing crisis. Yes, addressing Nigeria's housing crisis is the other part of the conversation this afternoon. But then, permit me to, while I was making my research, I'm just going through different articles surrounding these conversations. I was able to, jump on quite a number of things. Fixing Nigeria's 28 million housing deficit a mirage. This was from the Blueprint. Will I call it Blueprint newspaper or Blueprint magazine? September 14, 2023. I also came across from the Punch newspaper, less than 300 houses being built annually. Redan reported 4th April 2016. I also came across a book. Yes, a book talking about addressing housing deficits in Nigeria, issues, challenges, and prospects by Emmanuel Abolo More. Yes, I thought of, okay, this should probably be the part 3 of this conversation, addressing housing deficits in Nigeria, issues, challenges. So what I'm going to do is would begin with this book. Talking about housing deficit from the angle of the writer of this book. And then I also came across Nigeria needs 21 trillion naira to address housing deficit, says VP Shettima, September 10, 2023. Now, we would be doing, so we're going to take these other ones that I've made mention, and then for the book part, would actually have it as the part 3 of this conversation. So addressing addressing Nigeria's housing deficit is what we're going to begin with today. And this is from Bolaji Okunsaga, managing consultant at Precise Reputation. Let me be sure this was not what I did last week. All right. Addressing Nigeria's housing deficit was what I began with last week, was part of what I talked about last week. And yes, okay. I just needed to be sure I'm not about to repeat what I did last week. Okay. All right. So today we'll begin with real estate not solving Nigeria's housing deficit. Yes. So we began with the question last week, and we also talked about addressing Nigeria's housing deficit and other things as well. You can do well to go back to that conversation to get the full gist. Today we'll continue the conversation, and yes, real estate not solving Nigeria's housing deficit, and this is from Umar Frank, who happens to be a sales, business development, and investment manager, technical supervisor. Now, are real estate companies really solving housing deficit problem in Nigeria? In my own opinion, according to him, no. And he says, let me tell you why. Referencing Nigeria's statistics on housing deficit, Nigeria's housing deficit has grown progressively from 7 million housing units in 1991 to 12 million in 2007, 14 million in 2010, and subsequently 28 million housing units in 2022, with forecasts estimating 50 million in the next 10 years, considering our growing population, economic declaration, high inflation, construction costs, and increasing poverty rates. In 2019, the Central Bank of Nigeria said only 10% of Nigerians who desire to own a home can afford it. As at 1991 to 1993, 4 to 7 million. Okay, as at 1991 to 1993, the housing deficit in Nigeria was about 4 to 7 million, and the population then was about 104 million people. And the causes of the housing deficits from 1991 to 93 was mortgage inefficiency. In 2007, housing deficit grew from 7 million to 8 to 10 million, and population was about over 145 million, and the cost then was shun demolition and urban migration. Slum demolition. I needed to be sure of what I was pronouncing. As I went closer to the screen. Slum demolition and urban migration. Now, from 2013 to 2015, housing deficit grew from 16. Housing deficit grew between 60 to 17 million, and population increased to about over 178 million. And the cost of housing deficit within that period of 2013 to 2015 was overpopulation and urban expansion. Now, in 2017 down to 2019, housing deficits increased from about 18 to 22 million, and population increased as well from 178 to over 184 million. And the cost of housing deficit between 2017 to 2019 was increased poverty, overpopulation, and urban migration. Now, from 2022 down to 2023, 2024, 2025, housing deficit from 2022 was about 28 million, and currently as I speak, it is over 60 million, over 60 million, and population growth has increased from 220 million to has overgrown. It is yet to be known. According to Senator Shetima, Nigeria has a deficit of over 28 million houses. The vice president said, despite efforts by governments across different levels, Nigeria's housing deficit remains huge at over 21 trillion naira. Deficit remains huge, as over 28 trillion naira will be required to effectively bridge the gap. He stated this in Sokoto at the groundbreaking for the construction of a 50-unit housing estate by the state government. This is where real estate companies comes in, bridging the gap. Let's proceed into unanswered questions. These questions leave the public wondering, number one, why are there several unoccupied buildings, estates in Abuja, Lagos, and other major cities? While I was having these contemplations in mind, I thought I was the only one. I've had opportunities to go around Lagos to a certain point, especially the island parts of, been to some estates, and you see so many empty buildings. Two, who is to be blamed? The private company who are expected to bridge the housing deficit gap, or the government who operates on very poor housing regulations? Because whether you like it or not, the private sectors are out there to make profits. Three, are developers only for high-income earners, and what percentage of the elite are in need of houses? Considering the middle and low-income earners who double as majority in this housing deficiency, this remains deeply uncertainly for many, as rural communities are being demolished. Rent is extremely high, and house ownership sounds completely impossible to these earners. 4, it is all about profits. Is it all about profit and greed? 5, are there better approaches that haven't been explored? These questions and more are for our review as a people, governments, investors, developers, and regulatory authorities. Are real estate companies really solving housing deficit problem in Nigeria? I want you to answer that question, either live on Facebook or YouTube. And for this very young man, in the person of Umo Frank, he says, no, they are not. This is because the houses developed by these companies, in my sincere opinion, are too expensive for the affected population majority to purchase or rent, leading to gross misconduct across several sectors to meet this high demand. Possible hindrances related to affordable homes in real estate sector. As a member and contributor in this sector, I can identify the following as the obstacles to affordable home in Nigeria: high cost of lands, high inflation and increasing construction costs, high population of low-income earners, political influence, high profit margin, and greed. And he dropped his suggestion. As a seasoned real estate developer, he says, I acknowledge the commendable effort by the government on allocation of lands in underdeveloped communities to developers. However, something is essentially missing: effective follow-up and regulation. 1, the government should mandate real estate companies who benefit from land allocation to use at least 30% of this property to develop low-cost housing, preferably 1 and 2 bedroom blocks or flats. The lands should be allocated to developers for free or every minute purchase price by the government. Government should directly link real estate companies with proven records to the Federal Mortgage Bank and National Housing Loans to specifically develop low-cost housing for civil servants. Every assistance to facilitate this should be in place. 4, Government should not try developing by themselves as community in Nigerian political system is near impossible. Funds should be allocated to private companies with strict supervision to build these houses. 5. Price cap should be placed on the real estate sector to curtail irresponsible profit demand and curb unnecessary property appreciation. House rents should be directly regulated by government according to regions. As funny as it may sound, this is a major challenge. In conclusion, Nigerian housing deficit is not impossible to address. It is simply government's negligence, real estate's high profit pursuit, and Nigeria's greed. It can be addressed by swift collaboration of the government and real estate companies willing to deliver low-cost housing, rather than payment increase in various sectors, which relatively increases price of everything in the market, and free grants, which are not properly monitored. Proper housing regulations, development, and assistance should be prioritized. I can relate because I understand the sector and have a well thought over design plan to achieving the milestone. I love and believe in the real estate sector as it is very profitable, with luxury lifestyle accompanying our success. However, the quest to satisfy humanity and making life better in our society should be in sine qua non to us. I love you. I love Nigeria. Thank you for reading this, and God bless you. And also thank me for bringing this on the show. Now, let me take you back to Blueprint, where will I call it an article? It says fixing Nigeria's. This was okay. Now, yeah, fixing Nigeria's housing deficit. Is it a mirage? No, everything that I have read from is absolutely true. Talking about Omar Frank is absolutely true. Very, very true. Very, very, very true. Now, someone here says that the first point of call to solving the housing issues is government policies. This is not rocket science. This is something that is 100% very possible. 100% possible. The first point of call to solving the housing issues is government policies. If the Lagos State government can change Dangote Group 100 million USD to run its factory, give land documents, and yet revoke those documents, then there is no way to solve the housing issues anytime soon, although we hope a turn around. Now let's take this back a bit to 2023 September 14. For many Nigerians, access to decent and affordable housing remains a critical challenge. The housing challenge is made worse by the rise in rural-urban migration, which continues to stretch the limited public infrastructure in urban centers. Currently, more than 28 million Nigerians lack access to decent and affordable housing. Recently, the Vice President Shettima lamented that despite efforts being made by government at different levels to address the nation's housing deficit, a lot needs to be done. A lot more needs to be done. According to Shettima, the country's housing deficit requires over 21 trillion naira to be effectively bridged. Shettima spoke in Sokoto at the groundbreaking ceremony at the construction of 500-unit housing estate to be constructed by the Governor Ahmed Aliyu-led administration. Nigeria has a deficit of over 28 million houses, and we will need, over 21 trillion naira to meet our housing needs. He said this step taken by the governor is highly commendable and worthy of emulation by other state governments. Of course, Nigeria's housing problems are not new. The housing deficit has grown progressively from 7 million housing units in 1991 to 12 million in 2007, 14 million in 2010, and subsequently 28 housing units in 2022. As at 2025, we're talking about over 60 million. The combination of a growing urban population, lack of an efficient mortgage system, poverty, increasing construction costs, high inflation, and declining household income have made access to decent and affordable housing difficult for many Nigerians. Now, let me take this part. At least two factors justify the need for private sector participation at this time. The first one is that only private sector can mobilize the level of funding that is required to meet the deficit. The other one is that only the private sector can commit the capital required over a long term. In addition to the private sector led investment, the government can also collaborate with the private sector to provide low-cost housing schemes that can accommodate a larger segment of the economy, especially those in the formal sector. To boost private sector participation, the Tinubu-led administration should provide an enabling environment through incentives such as tax concessions and eliminate bureaucratic bottlenecks in the land administration system. You are wondering, why are the private? Why is it? It is so difficult, or will I say, it is so expensive and specifically made for a certain set of people to get property from the private sector, talking about real estate companies, because of the fact that they can afford it. But then, if you see a house going for 100 million, you begin to wonder. But when you look into the full details of what makes up that property, you will discover that so many things has gone down, so many money, approval of this, you're paying for this, you're paying for that, so many things. So you need your money back, and you also need profit as well. Real estate companies are not out there to do charity business. All right. So to boost the private sector participation, the government needs to provide an enabling environment through incentives and so many others that would encourage the private sector to help in reducing. I mean, if we've said more than enough concerning this conversation, and we can actually, call it a day even on this specific topic, because yes, if you have followed from the very first day of this conversation, even down to the few things I have said so far, I mean, the solution is not far-fetched. The solution is not far-fetched, but negligence and the high level of nonchalancy is, part of this thing. So now, how much do Nigeria need to solve housing deficits? As at September 2023, Vice President Shettima says Nigeria needs 21 trillion naira to address housing deficits. And do you think that is even enough? Is 21 trillion really? Vice President Senator Shettima says, despite efforts by governments across different levels, Nigeria housing deficits, how much do you think? That is the next question I'm asking, so feel free to answer. Deficit remains, or do you think is there really a specific amount of money that is needed to solve Nigeria's housing deficits? Is it about a specific amount? The Vice President stated this on Sunday. Okay. I've read this. So yes, is it about a specific amount? Will a specific amount actually do or go a long way to solve housing deficits? Do you think so? All right, let's quickly take a video break. Let me quickly take a video break, I'll be right back to conclude this program. All right. So.
The emperor, the conqueror, the champion, the lion is here. Zobu, zobu, reigning by master.
Toya dike, nenu dike. Toya dike, nenu dike. Iye jamara dike ruenu, ekwe chenjigo. Iye jamara dike ruenu, ekwa dagarigo. Omarunga basi, onemekasi. Omarunga basi, onakakasi. Ebube dike, iwe dikekwe. Wani manaria, achaluko dike. Clear the road for Musabi. Step aside for the game changer. Oja de kubaki aputago. Angona bwebona tani. Owarunga basi, onamekasi. Owarunga basi, onapiakasi. Ebube dike, iwe dikekwe. Wani manaria, achaluko dike.
The emperor, the conqueror, the champion, the lion is here.
All right, as we return to conclude this conversation on housing deficit, I just remembered that, so we'll end this conversation with a video which will throw more light and expatiate. It's a conversation that was held on Channels TV. Housing deficit, how Nigeria housing crisis can be fixed by an entrepreneur. You would get to know his name when you. Let's take my office. Okay. Yeah, Shegun, that's his name. Shegun or Shegun. CEO ArcView Limited. Shegun or Dairo. Yes. Let's listen to him and then we'll call it a day from there.
You can also use it as a leverage in the bank, so.
And so in our conversation on the ease of doing business today, we'll be looking at the real estate sector and how that policy is making, business smooth sail for, practitioners in that space. And we have somebody who should know particularly what is happening in that space. Mr. Shegun Oshudairo is the CEO, ArcView Limited. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We can't talk about the ease of doing business without first of all looking at what seems to be the impressive performance of the real estate sector following the recent GDP rebasing of the economy, where the real estate sector outperformed about two or three other sectors with 46.52% in the third quarter of 2024. But some would say that despite the declining purchasing power of Nigerians, the real estate sector is performing. So where is all of that resources that is being channeled into that sector? Where is it coming from if Nigerians do not have enough for the basics?
Yes, thank you very much. Real estate is the biggest industry in the world. So it's not only in Nigeria, everywhere in the world, people want to invest in the real estate sector because it's such an industry that is stable, and it's what everybody needs. You must live in a house. You don't want to retire from here and still be paying rent. So everybody is always thinking about, thinking about how to leave a legacy for their children, and you can also use it as a leverage in the bank. So it goes. It's such an important industry that you must invest in. So when you mentioned about where is this money coming from, these are Nigerians in diaspora. They are really bringing in. When we had the dirty December, most of them came in and also invested in the real estate sector. So in the last 2 years, they've been the major bulk of purchasers of properties in Nigeria business, because they now believe in the system. Now we can talk more about security. There is more of we are sure that they can come home, unlike in the last 5 years, whereby you have to contend with the area of insecurity in the country. So because of now that we have they can come home and come and invest. And when you look at what is also happening in the West, like what the Trump administration is doing, and some other countries all around in the Western world, everybody is now conscious of coming back home to invest because there is no place like home.
Sorry, are they buying to jackpada, or they're just buying
they are
for their family members?
To have something here. They are buying to connect with their roots. They are also buying for their families. They are also using it as a form of investment. Okay, rather than putting all my eggs in one basket over there, let me diversify this investment. And because they are seeing the industry growing. For example, look at real estate property market in the Lekki axis. It's growing. People are coming home to invest. For example, Banana Island is such a place that everybody would like to invest in, because in the last 5 years, the market has grown. In fact, I actually checked that the rate at which it's appreciating in value, it's such enormous that you also want to put your money there, and you are sure of having good returns on your investment. And it's not really about you coming in to live in there. You can use it as a shortlet and be making daily money.
This growth,
yes.
Sorry for cussing, this growth, is it not antithetical to the growth of the economy in itself? Because one of the problems we have, let's use Lagos as an example, especially that Ikoyi and Lekki you mentioned. The houses are too pricey. There's a gentleman, maybe one of these days we'll get him, who has been at the vanguard of comparing, when you see a house of $5 million or $1 million, I thank God the tax policy now says that if you're pricing in dollars, you will also collect your money in dollars in terms of taxes. So you see a house of $5 million, $10 million, $7 million, even $15 million right here in Lagos, and compare that same house, same amount, say in LA and some part of the West, the one in Lekki and the one in Ikoyi looks like a hostel, literally. So what is this boom really all about? Is it just artificial? Just explain to us what exactly is going on, and speak to this issue of pricing, because that's argument of 1% or the 1%.
Yes. Well, for me, it is not too pricey, because for you to have that house ready, you need to spend so much in bringing it up. One, you look at the prices of building materials. In the last 2 years, you look at Naira dollar, rate, because it is what you buy that you're going to sell, and also you look at the ease of processing land title documents. You have to go through several bureaucracy, bottlenecks. It takes time, and how you have to maneuver your way with government officials.
Are you justifying the inflated pricing? Because the people who understand your sector are saying, even if you look at the quality of materials being used and the things that are used in the interior, they fall flat compared to the ones that are within the same range outside here.
Yes, you see, you cannot compare the market environs, in the West, outside the country, with Nigeria. Nigeria is such a peculiar country in doing business. Our government needs to look into so many things before we can now provide these affordable homes. But as it is now, you can only sell what you have bought, because.
But relatedly, even at that, why hasn't this boom in the sector? Why hasn't it solved the housing deficit challenge? Because we still have a housing deficit of about 28 million, and this is according to experts in the country. So this boom is not solving the problem at home, and it justifies Jeffrey's question about, the high-falutin cost of homes.
Yes, we have that major challenge of building for the low-income earners and the middle-income earners. They are priced out from the property market. What he is talking about, a house of $5 million is meant for the elite and the high income earners. So government needs to sit down and see how to look at how it was done in the 70s, in the 80s, the Baba Dakonde era. That is still possible. What they need to do is to look at that, the way it was done, and pick out the good side and see how to work around it. Because for you to build for the low-income earners now, you need to sit down with experts, and let's see how we can work it out. Number one is that there must be a viable mortgage system. In the West, that's how they do it. A very good mortgage system will help the off-takers, Nigerians, who are in need of these properties. Like, I could remember in the 70s, First Act 77, my daddy told me that with 3 naira you could obtain a form and spread your payment for about 20 years. That is payment for the house, But as it is it still possible? But a good mortgage system will actually, take that out of, be able to see how to provide more. And also, government must see how to partner with developers, private developers. 90% of houses in Nigeria presently are built by private developers.
And politicians.
So they have to
Let's not forget them.
Well, they have to sit. They have to sit with them and say, how do we provide homes? Government owns land. The 1978 Land Use Act gives them the power over land. We, the developers, we have the expertise, the experience in building. Now they should see, okay, the off-takers, the good people of Nigeria, they are available to get into this property market. Now what is missing? A viable mortgage system whereby everybody, Nigerians, will be able to access good mortgage system with good interest rate, single digit interest rates.
So you're saying that in the absence of that, private developers will not go into building affordable homes for the middle class and those beneath that cadre?
Absolutely. You see, the banks should be able, as a developer, if I have very good rates, to build, why not? We will surely build. We are working on that. That's what we do every day. So we need that solid partnership, everybody, all parties should come together and sit, okay. The first thing is that as a 1978 Babajide Konde era, they saw housing, provision of houses as a social investment, not as a money-making venture. Within 4 years, it was able to develop 16 estates, just within 4 years, and they were able to sit with developers, banks to provide funds. The off-takers, they are always there, available.
I'm happy you've spoken to these institutional structures and Babajide Konde's time and all of that. Maybe there was less corruption. I would like you to speak to the corruption in the sector perpetrated by some politicians. Look, in this country, I know when a politician's house, when he was having issues with the EFCC, they seized about, though they returned it, about 30-something houses of his in Abuja. I'm not saying in Nigeria. Abuja alone, 30-something. So you can imagine what the crop of today politicians own. If you go to places like this Lagos, Rivers, couple of other places across Nigeria, politicians no longer buy houses, they buy clothes. Like, they could, I don't know. It's true. You know what I'm saying is true. Because that is part of the reason why they are cancelling out opportunities for people, using proceeds of corruption to buy, if they have the chance, to buy half of the state, some of them. So what can be done from a I know you're not a politician, and I'm sorry for dragging you in, but we're trying to solve a problem, here. How do we solve this problem of corruption proceeds being used to, you remember what was seized by the EFCC, record high, 700 and something, linked to, they say it's linked, that's the language used in Mayfield and all of that. Those are the things we're talking about. How do we help Nigerians? Because the housing deficit is very wide.
It's very wide, and it's getting wider every year. You see, our government needs to be intentional about providing homes for Nigerians. Like I said, it should see it as a social investment.
I want you to speak to the corruption.
Yeah, the corruption is there, and is affecting the country heavily. You go to Abuja and you see how, you can't just, for we businessmen, we just have to take off our eyes from that side, because we're not politicians, we are just, but I pray our government, the government of Lagos State, the Ministry of Housing, that's the Minister of Housing, can see how to be more intentional about providing homes. You see, it is possible. Yeah, it is possible. We actually, as a company, we have the biggest privately owned estate in the whole of Ogun State. And that project was an affordable project, So, and we saw how it was done. So, for me, it's about you seeing how to partner with those who are doing the business. Now, we said politicians, we talked about developers building homes, and what are they building? They are building luxurious homes, high-end homes, not a two-bed, a one-bed, a studio flat, a condos, for the good people of Nigeria. But it is possible. And how does it work? Let there be a workable mortgage system, a pool of funds. All these monies that politicians are taking away, they should bring it together. In fact, there is so much money to be made than what they are even making presently. Because if...
You mean the corrupt politicians, the alleged corrupt that stole the money should now bring it? That's a long shot.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that is also part of what is working against the private developers in the real estate sector.
Because if you bring this money together and there's a structure in place, thanks for technology. Now with tech now, you can easily track anything, you know, and we're talking about building you prepayment maybe for 10 years, and as you pay, you have your interest. You know, interest, single digit interest, which will help. Because the 32%, 25% is not visible. Many Nigerians will not be able to afford it. If you can do 6%, 7%, that is good. And the very property we are talking about, the project we are building, will be the collateral. So if you default, collect your house. The house goes back to the market. And as it goes back to the market, when you are selling, you're not selling at the old price. You're selling at the current price. So this pool of funds would actually be what? Growing. With everybody being intentional, being sincere, you know, being ready to build for Nigerians and to improve this country and to develop this country. So it is doable.
Through key takeaways, a mortgage structure that works, capital for private developers, and low interest rates.
You didn't mention corrupt politicians.
Also ease of processing land titles. It is very important. And also they should review the existing land laws. That's 1978 Land Use Act. That should be reviewed, you know, because you know, we are still working with the 1978 laws, you know, guiding the...
I'm sure either by proxy or directly.
Guiding our industry.
The land ministries have heard you. Thank you so much, sir. We've been talking with Mr. Segun Oshodairo, CEO, Arkview Limited. Thank you so much for coming through at this time.
Thank you.
And yes, that's on that note, we bring this session to a close, and has been wonderful. Thank you. God bless you all, and see you again.
There are two kinds of people: those who love to own property and the smart investors. I'm Ruth, and today we are going to be talking about the 5 benefits of subscribing to your property off plan.
I'm Sandra Tolefe. Speaking of which, here at P1 Plus, we offer exotic buildings at exotic locations off plan.
Here are the 5 benefits of subscribing to your property off plan. 1. Lower prices and exclusive discounts.
Off plan properties are often sold at lower prices compared to the completed units.
2. Potential for high returns.
As the property appreciates in value during construction, buyers can benefit from significant capital gain.
3. Flexible payment plan.
Many developers provide structured payment options, making it easier for you to avoid the large upfront costs.
4. Customization.
You can enjoy the benefits of customizing your property to your desired taste during construction.
And 5. The ease of reselling your property.
You can easily resell your properties during or after construction, which means more money in the bag. Smart investors find creative ways to save money, get return on their investment, and enjoy flexible payment plans. I mentioned the exotic locations earlier. Exactly. You can get a home in a beautiful estate, just like the Cedarwood luxury apartments and terraces. Imagine living in a life-size version of this estate just by subscribing to our autograph maisonette and apartment by Cedarwood, Monastery Road, Shongotedo. That's not all. You can enjoy living in a serene environment with quality and comfort.
Be a smart investor today and subscribe to our offline property at the Autograph Maisonette and Apartments by Cedarwood, Monastery Road.
You too can own your own luxurious apartments at the Cedarwood Luxury Maisonette and Apartments here in Ajaya Apata, Shangotedu, Lagos. At the Cedarwood Luxury Maisonette and Apartments, we have 1-bedroom apartments that go for 35 million. We have the 2-bedroom apartments that go for 45 million, and the 4-bedroom maisonette duplexes that go for 60 million naira. Get your own luxurious apartments at Cedarwood Luxury Maisonette and Apartments here in Ajaya Apata.
Hello viewers, I am Ambassador Dr. Julius Oyedemi, your most astounding CEO 2023 P1 Group. The best radio to listen to is no other than Cedarwood Luxury Radio. Thank you.